What's up, you absolutely wonderful Magento loving friends of mine? Joseph here from SwiftOtter with, you guessed it, another video explaining something that honestly I haven't explained on video before. And I'm pretty excited about this because this one is going to be hopefully useful, educational for everybody. We all can use improvement with the code that we write. I will say that whenever I submit code, I have people on my team who also critique my code, and usually they come up with a few things. So ultimately, just to make it very clear, a code review is nothing personal. It's not a jab. It's not mean. It's good. It's good to learn. It's a good double check. We're human. We miss stuff. Even if we're 100% perfect, it could be that our entire approach could have been just off even a little bit. But on the other hand, there is this idea that the code reviewer is not really anyone more important than the person that wrote the code. Whether it's a junior or senior developer, no matter what the title, the position is, code review should be done humbly and with complete respect to the person that wrote it. Because don't get me wrong, the person who wrote the code, me in this example, is, we're proud of the work that we do. At least I hope we are proud of the work we do. So as such, and I'll put a plug in for our Smash the Bug podcast. We have lots and lots of episodes about code reviews, getting just depressed or discouraged about these type of personnel issues in the company, that sort of thing. So all that to say, we're going to be jumping into a code review here right now. I'm excited about the answers that you all put onto this LinkedIn post. We're going to be pulling in a little bit more information here shortly. But before we do, I want to remind you that the cloud course is currently free on our YouTube channel. We do have a page on our website. We've ultimately uploaded all the content to our learning management system. It's there. It's available until February 15th. So you have just over a month to utilize it, and then it's getting locked up. I mean, we're not charging much for it. But the other thing to note is those who have purchased our more or less our entry level or a little more than entry level course, as well as our expert level courses, you automatically get cloud if you purchased it after, was it October 17th of 2022. So cloud course is available. We want to help you get certified. It seems like a bit of a hurdle to get you certified on with the cloud questions now being included in professional and expert, but this course makes it pretty easy work. Do we give you all the questions? No. Do we give you any question? No. We give you the information, the knowledge that's necessary to flourish on the cloud platform. So let's look at this here. We have some excellent answers by a few great people here. So not as many of you threw out comments here. And I'm just going to say right here and right now, put your answer in here. This is a little bit interesting, a different style of question that we have not done previously, but doesn't matter. This is the type of information that helps hone your capabilities, makes you truly a better developer. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's ultimately more. And I think that kind of covers what the majority of you talked about here in this section. Great comments, absolutely excellent. Well, let me put this up here again on the screen. And I love the explanation. I love the information. This helps you become a better developer. Now, you might be saying, how do I become a developer by just writing this out? Well, you took hopefully less than 5 minutes. You analyzed this piece of code. Actually, a couple of you probably took more than 5 minutes because of the detail in your answers. At least it would have taken me more than 5 minutes. You took some time, wrote this out, and that made your mind just a little bit sharper. We do this every week, and you're getting sharper and sharper still. So congratulations, great work on this. Let's jump into this code example, and let's see what we would do as code reviewers. And again, attitude completely matters. So let's see what we would do. First, I copied this file from our, right here, you saw I copied this over, dropped it in here. I did, I X'd out the Magento doc block, and I just used ours instead. There's honestly not much of a doc block up there because ultimately the date, who this is done by, all this is available in the Git commit history. So we don't really need much of it here, but we do need our declare strict types. And yeah, that's not included here in the core Magento. All that to say, again, here's the one thing that I found that is helpful is, and I put this comment in here, but I would advise taking a slightly different approach, and that is to identify what we changed. Because ultimately, let's say we're going to Magento 246, and maybe there's some tweaks in this file. Well, what are we going to do about getting those tweaks moved over? Are we going to actually diff the file out? Well, that's actually not that hard, and it's a good practice to do. But what we also could do is put in some notes as far as what was changed. So for example, we see everything was basically identical down to should render quantity. Yeah, and ultimately, this would be about the same. So I'm going to take this out because I put this in here just for reference for you. And I would, in this case, what I like to do is use this like company name, SwiftOtter, begin tracking minimum quantity. Okay. So we have just notated this. This is findable. I can search for SwiftOtter in the code. It will tell me, and I can filter by the comments. It will tell me exactly where my code changes are starting. So this would be, I would definitely recommend doing this. And I guess one thing to note here is we're kind of doing a review and a fix at the same time. All right, so coming down through here, we see get quantity validators is the same. Well, actually, no, it's not. Okay, so get quantity validators is used here. So ultimately, this is called twice. Well, what does this code do? This is calls validators, adds required number in here, etc. So this could be extended on, and obviously there could be plugins. Here we see plugins right here. I'll have product view. What is this class? This is catalog inventory. Okay, so this is adding to this, and now we have stock registry get stock item. Okay, so is stock registry, what does this look like here? Get stock item. We're going to dig down here just a little deeper. Stock registry storage. So this could mean that this is cached. Not 100% sure, but this could be cached. Either way, we can't know for sure. However, if it is necessary to call this twice, we should throw this into a variable and then swap this out down here. So we're only calling get quantity validators one time, as opposed to calling it twice. Are you going to notice the performance impact? Not at all. But after doing this type of practice 100 times, would you notice the performance impact? 100%. Yeah, it's definitely going to add up. It's those tiny little 1/10% that add up to a significant amount over the course of time. Okay, cool. So we have a note there. And I want to make sure that I am getting this set. Okay. So the next thing is minimum quantity. Look like the developer had an idea for this is going to be used, but it's not actually implemented. Now, a couple of things here. So I see a minimum right here. So we could ultimately put min quantity right here, and that would work. It's basically using like the HTML attributes as opposed to using data validation, which is fine that way. I would argue it's probably better to add a minimum here. Again, I don't know if it really matters. Either way, min quantity is not used. So this is dead code, has no need to be used. But let's say part of our ticket was to add this. So we're just for the sake of example, we're going to put this in here. Notice I use the equal as opposed to the echo. Equal instead of the echo. Okay, so here's the other thing is this is PHP 5 syntax. It's definitely not PHP 7. So, yeah, PHP 7. I'm getting my numbers straight. I had a conversation today, and I got a couple things mixed up on this. So, anyways, this is good. So, is set quantity validators validate minimum item quantity min allowed. So, let's say this is like the only way to get this information. I would argue it's probably not. But if this was the only way to get this information, we don't need to do this. This is kind of like old style now. So the new way would be to do use the null coalesce feature in Magento, or excuse me, PHP, and we just cleaned that code up. That was definitely simplified right there. So right there is a time boost, is a help right there. Congratulations, good work. So continuing on, so we've used min quantity, so that is no longer an issue. Another thing I see so often in code bases is commented code. Once it's committed, unless there is a super good reason to comment it, which there's almost never a good reason, just delete it. just delete it. Another thing is, this is kind of a nitpick, but these should maybe be on all one line. But it's kind of like a hybrid, one line versus multiple lines. But I prefer one line because that allows us to see all the attributes there at a quick glance. Now, the other thing is, so yeah, we got to make sure we are documenting our changes. So I forgot to document down here. So we can do, and let's see here, order added minimum quantity. Okay, close that comment off. Now, a couple of you called out view model. I would say in this case, is it necessary? Yes, it might be helpful, might not be. It's kind of hard to say specifically. As soon as we start getting more methods going in here, calling more methods, this would be arguable, passing that through, but I think this would be fine maybe as is, perhaps, although all of this could be wrapped in and thrown into a view model. Here's the thing. A view model the idea is components of functionality. It might not even be pulling something from the database. It could be taking an input from somewhere in this file right here, or in this class, and we could feed it in to a view model, and then it processes it. Basically, it's pulling out PHP out of our PHTML templates. The idea is to clean up our PHTML templates so it's as much like the Twig templating system as we maybe could possibly get it. So it's, again, very, very clean. So the more PHP we can get out of there, the better. So then I would argue that we could probably get rid of this here. Throw it into a view model. I think this is a good idea. Now, add to cart could be a little tricky because it's used in several places, so you have to be careful because you do have to manually, when a block is declared, you have to manually add in those view models underneath it. So I would say a view model would be a good upgrade for this. Now, here's the other thing. Product get unit of measure. This one is a couple of things wrong here. First, get unit of measure is it a uppercase O? Is it a uppercase M? Remember, with the snake case, how this is converted to the snake case attribute form, it would be written in the database like this. That's not readable. So we could be running into an issue of underscore versus not. Now, the other thing is I would recommend not using this. I say recommend. I don't almost ever use these magic getters anymore. Instead, what I would recommend, there are a couple of options. First, you could do get custom attribute. And then, so you could put the attribute code in here. Well, would you just type in unit of measure? No, you wouldn't do that. You would reference a attribute, the constant attribute, a constant value for this attribute. So it would be like attributes, and I'm just making this up here, unit of measure, like that. So you know that you're always getting that right, that attribute value, attribute code correct, no matter where you are. You go create it in a data patch, you're using this this constant here. You use it here, well, you know you're getting the right one. So the other thing is we might not have a custom attribute value for this. It depends. So ultimately, get custom attribute could return null. So we could do get value. Whoa, what happens though if it returns null? We have, and I have this set currently to PHP 7.4. If I upgrade this to PHP 8.1, we will see that we have and I just slipped my mind, the null, cannot believe it. We have the null feature here. The null coalesce feature. That's right. The null coalesce feature, which means that this will just return null, which means that we don't have to go through all this extra fancy effort. Again, if we're using PHP 8.1 or better, we don't have to go through all this fancy effort to see if there's a value here. Bingo, done. Now, here's the other thing to keep in mind. Categories. Is this used on a category page? And if so, is this attribute selected? Now, there's a whole nother conversation. But again, these are things to be thinking through in this case. So this is Kind of a nitpick, not really. Unit underscore of measure breaks the Magento class, CSS class nomenclature here. So this should be changed out. And I still don't think this is a good class, but I'm not a front end guy, so I couldn't tell you what I would say would be a good class name. But I don't think that still is a great one, at least, but it follows the right nomenclature. Quite a number of you called out how this should be translated very well. Now, a number of you also called out how there's no reason we don't need PHP Echo anymore. We can just use this. And I suggest we drop these on new lines. It makes it easier to read and understand. And then we're just going to copy this same code here. Or actually, even better than this, unit of measure equals, and then we'll just drop it right here. Bingo. My opinion, this is a lot more readable, a lot cleaner, and we should be good to go. So yeah, there is your code review for the day. I hope that you found this helpful. And if you found even more things that I did not include here, make sure to drop that as a comment here below.